All right, everybody, welcome in to Jump the Start Racing podcast. My name is Wellington. I am here with two of my closest friends. Ruben, say hello.
What's going on, guys?
Yancy.
What did I tell you?
What?
Best race ever!
I don't know if it was the best race ever, but it was a pretty good one. Guys, how was your weekends outside of the race?
If you speak it into existence, it will happen.
It happens. It happens. How was your weekends outside of the race?
Pretty good.
I had a great weekend. Awesome weekend. I was a tourist in my own city this weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yes. You know, New York opened up this week. So,
Was it this week? Yeah.
Yeah, it was this week. So, you know, we were out and about, went to the vessel. Had a good time. It was cool.
Ruben, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good time this weekend? Didn't do much?
What did I do Saturday?
Worked. Yeah, you worked.
Then couch potato the rest of Saturday. Then Sunday was Father's Day. So
Yeah.
We were
Happy
with
Father's
family.
Day, Ruben.
Thank
Happy
you.
Father's Day, Rule.
Thank you.
The daddy of the podcast. All right, so snap back. Before jumping into the French Grand Prix review, we want to talk about a couple of news items. Number one, we saw in Baku at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, we saw two huge failures on the Pirelli tires affecting both Lance Stroll and Max Verstappen, obviously having a huge effect on the race.
Made it well. Made it a fun race.
Made it a fun race, yeah. I guess. Turns out that Pirelli came back and pointed out both Red Bull and Aston Martin were running with lower pressures than actually, how about this? They were within range, but they were on the lower range of the pressure recommended for the tires, meaning that they were not at the same level as the competitors. And what ended up happening is because of the lowered tire pressure, pressures did not rise during the race as they believed that they would. Pirelli believed that they would, and that caused standing waves, and I quote, standing waves on the shoulder of the tire, which led directly to failure for Lance Stroll and Max Verstappen.
What does that mean?
Yep.
Standing wave. Well, I know what it means, but I mean, what the standing waves mean, I don't know, whatever. But
So the standing wave, is that like, you see when you have the top fuel cars, when they take off, and you see like the tire flex streams like down the side? Is that what they call the standing wave? Because the car's still standing, but the tire's like trying to push, and it has like on the side all those waves like that?
yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. But with the
They found a reason.
no, well, it's true because here's what happens: the FIA only tests the pressure when they start, or before they start, meaning in park firmware while they're in the garage. So do you have a minimum tire pressure that you must have on the car? So what a lot of teams will do is that they'll put a certain amount of pressure on the tires, so enough so it could be high enough where when the FIA comes and measures it, it's to to spec, right? Then what happens? But they're also warming up the tires at that point too. So when you warm up the tires,
That raises
heat
the pressure.
raises the pressure. So once they're out on track, the pressure is lower. Now, it is a benefit to the team to have lower pressure because once you have lower pressure, think of it as a balloon. If you take a balloon and you inflate it too much with air, it bounces off very easily. Same thing happens with a tire.
Or both.
Yeah. Now, if you lower the air pressure, it tends to settle onto the track so you have better grip. So it benefits most of the teams, actually, if they have a lower pressure so they have better traction going through the corners. But so a lot of the teams play around with this, especially with the heating up of the tires in the formation lap and with the tire blankets as well. So it was found that Red Bull and Aston Martin, obviously throughout the race, I guess the tires weren't heating up enough. The tire pressure was low. And then, if you don't follow the directions, the tire blows up because you're going to have structural failure.
So is that why both teams didn't directly, over the radio or anything like that, complain directly about the tire?
If you recall, Red Bull specifically said, "Hey, everybody should come in."
Yeah, but that was
after the tire
I'm talking about, for example, Max.
Right.
Oh, these freaking tires! He didn't pointed to the tires. Like,
But because it wasn't the degradation on the tire one on the track, it was just that it just blew out. But what happens is that in Baku, especially throughout that straight, because remember this happened, you know, at that right after that little kink on that straight. So you have a lot of, obviously the cars are going at high speed. You have a lot of directional forces going in, stretching out the tires.
And you're turning me on talking all this physics.
You know,
oh my God.
Keep going.
that was my point.
Okay.
So you know, you have all these directional forces going onto the tires, and if you don't have enough pressure, if you don't have enough air pressure to withhold those forces, the tire's going to blow. That's exactly what happened.
Okay, so Pirelli's clear.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, Pirelli. Obviously, Red Bull's going to come out and say they followed all the directions.
Of course.
But I think the caveat is that they only, and this is why they changed the rules for 2022. Now, for 2022, what's going to happen is, well,
There's
right,
like a sensor in each tire.
yeah, they're going to have
A pressure sensor.
but that the FIA mandates, meaning that you can only use a tire, a supplier that the FIA says. So they're going to, right now, they're just relying on the data that the teams have. And we all know that the teams are not going to, they're going to fudge it somehow.
Right, like
So-
Ferrari. Right.
Why does it always have to be about
But I read that that there's no, I think that like, there's no minimum pressure you could have. There's
There's
max.
a minimum pressure, but there's a minimum pressure that you have to have.
Yeah. But within the range for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, most people were, I guess, far enough above that minimum that it wasn't an issue.
Except
but
the stupid.
Aston Martin and Red Bull were low, and that caused even so far as to say even Lewis Hamilton came out and was like, "Oh, Pirelli's not to blame." Obviously, he wants to throw shade
Of course.
on everybody else and say, you know, Mercedes,
That's just
we did the right thing.
The
We're playing within the
mudslinging
rules.
to,
And then he also emphasized like, hey, did you focus more on the pressure of the tires?
Yeah, maybe in the future, you know, maybe they'll do the same thing.
but what they're
competitor.
doing is obviously they're going to, the FIA has saw a hole in those regulations as far as the tire pressures, and within the rules of next year, the 2022 rule changes,
They're coming.
they're going to put sensors monitoring the tire pressures and all of that stuff. So there's a fix to it.
We're just happy that nothing happened to any other drivers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
So we were just talking about how Lewis Hamilton throwing a little dirt, right? So the drama of the season so far, the flexible wings. We know that coming into the French Grand Prix, they were mandating that new testing standard where they would have like the 10 dots across the rear wing, would be able to see the deflection. And then obviously they still have, what is it, the two 750 Newton forces, you know.
Oh, that's
straight
what
back.
the N mean.
Newton, yeah.
I was like, okay, so
Now he's
what is this N?
now he's turning himself.
Yeah,
on.
700 Newton, 1,000 N. I was like, okay, so 700 N. So what's next? The square root of N too? Like,
Oh, God. So,
I just tuned out right now.
yeah.
me too.
Takes you guys back
Like,
to high school.
No, the
Yeah.
flexible wing thing. I was like, okay, this is super complicated. What the hell they're talking about? Can we just
Yes.
simplify this crap?
It's not that complicated. It wound up being all about nothing, really, to be honest.
Well, yeah. So the controversy kind of came to a head at La Castellet at Paul Ricard because of the new testing standards. Red Bull had already shown up to Baku with a new redesigned wing. It's actually a wing that they used in Spa last year, kind of showing where they were going. Low downforce concept for this race. So we talked about this last time and every time out that it doesn't, the bending is not going to be that pronounced if they have a low downforce concept, which benefits them in France, in Austria, ×2, and then in Silverstone. You're always going to want to run low drag force. So
They're getting ready.
yeah, where it might show up is Hungaroring, which is after Silverstone,
Yep.
right? Much ado about nothing, though, Yancy. You said it was like
It just seemed like it was.
I like the shade though. You know, they're throwing the shit at each other and stuff like that.
But that's what it was. It is much to do about nothing. I mean, all the wings flex to some extent. I
think Mercedes got lucky that they did not focus more on the front one because their front wing flexes a lot.
But it's like I mentioned last time. We'll see what the regulations do, as far as if Red Bull really did have an advantage, it would have shown up here in France, because Obviously, the regulations came in tighter. We're tighter now, so the FIA is monitoring it. But Red Bull was just as quick. So it's not that they're gaining an advantage. I think it was just, it seems to me that Mercedes is rattled and they're just throwing,
Come on, Jens.
they're just playing a political game and the mudslinging in the media. They're rattled. For the first time in a long time, Mercedes seemed rattled. When have you seen Toto Wolff talk so much about another team?
2018.
Competition.
Yeah, when Ferrari was really threatening to win the championships, both.
Like Rebel rattled.
So, is this the end of the flexible?
Yeah, it is.
The cars, they're evenly matched. We'll call it that, right? Obviously, from what we can see as fans, the Mercedes has more power through their engine, which is even debatable. Red Bulls are faster through slow corners.
Yeah, but Red Bull now, their engine is fast enough, especially now with that lower downforce wing.
Crazy.
Is just Lewis Hamilton was saying that they were losing 0.3 of a second on the straight to the Red Bulls. So it seems like a combination of a better engine, obviously, that Honda has this year, with Red Bull specialty aerodynamics.
Mm-hmm. My man,
Seems
Adrian Newey.
So that's what I was saying. That's what I was thinking when Wills was mentioning.
So it's not only
the slow corners. They've always been. They just gotten.
But that's always what's made.
Just tying it up more.
That's always
working.
But that's what's made Mercedes so successful the past few years too. It's just not just the engine. Their aerodynamics is excellent too. They were the only team to run that. They pioneered that lower rake. They're the only team that were running it besides Aston Martin, which was Racing Point last year. But they were running the table. So I mean they're doing a good job.
Low rake or high rake?
Well, the
Mercedes.
The Mercedes is a low rake.
Yeah.
The Red Bull's a high rake.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So not only I feel like the Red Bull's cars were so much better on this track that the reason that Sergio Perez even missed out on front row is that he made a bunch of mistakes in that last lap on Q3.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to see going forward, what the heck are we going to get as far as not just the title fight, but then the Bottas and Perez fight. Obviously, Perez is kind of doing his thing for Red Bull, and I don't know. We could see Red Bull pulling away from the competition. Jeez. Dead story as far as the flexible wings? Yeah.
I think that's over. They'll find something else. We'll have Nico Rosberg just come up with a new theory.
He was the man this week.
He was throwing so much shade in every direction. It was wonderful. To the point where Toto Wolff was like, didn't we pay you enough over the years to... And the Sky, what was it? The Sky
the post-race interviews.
He did it too with Gasly and Norris.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what they hired him for. That's an exact quote from him.
What the hell is this guy doing? Guy's like, I probably would have said the same thing if he did it to me.
Yeah.
When he was trying to pass him on the inside, right?
Super political, though. They were also correct.
So the other bit of news going into this race is Esteban Ocon, 3-year deal, now signed through the end of 2024 with Alpine. Also, there's no Mercedes out clause.
What does that mean?
Meaning if Toto Wolff is like, yo, I want to drive
this kid.
and you're the man, he can't just say, yo, I'm out, guys.
So he's his own man now.
Yeah, finally. I'm a real boy.
Well, Mercedes still Toto Wolff manages him, but that's an ironclad contract. Well,
nice. Good for him.
Well, it's an ironclad contract until somebody wants out.
Yeah.
In Formula One, that's the way it goes. But they've committed to him until 2024. Well deserved. I think he came on strong at the end of last season and has started the season very, very strong, keeping up with Fernando Alonso. So he's doing well.
I think Ocon, obviously, since he came back. Obviously, let's go when he was with Force India or whatever it was called, the Pink Panther.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, he showed that he was a fighter. He came back, needed some time to get back together. Let's say, for example, last year he needed the time, even though the ending of last year he was already getting super strong.
Right.
Now he's showing his colors of what hey, I'm here to stay the year off that I was forced to take because nobody wanted me or whatever. It was a mistake by somebody else. Look what I'm showing. And now somebody gave me a couple of years, and I'm here to really solidify that I belong here.
It goes to show you that you can't just jump in a Formula One car and be quick. So it took him some time. And so far, out of the 7 races, he has 4 points finishes. So
He's finishing the points for them.
Four times. So he's
one time he retired, 13th and a 14th.
Right. And then he finished 9th, 7th, 9th. So 9th in
He's also been
Imola,
qualifying
7th in Portugal, 9th in
Spain,
and
9th in Monaco.
Yeah.
So then the question becomes, right? Red Bull, Mercedes, right? McLaren, Ferrari, better than the Alpine. We could say that right off the bat, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that puts you right away. Best you can do is, well, not best you can do. If everything runs fine, 9th, 10th versus your own teammate.
Yeah.
He's performing, right? Aston Martin sometimes jumps up there, right? Sometimes Alfa Romeos look good. He has gone up against Daniel Ricciardo, held his own. Gone up against Fernando Alonso now, holding his own.
Right.
Well-deserved contract. And it was nice a Frenchman gets the contract with the French team going into the French Grand Prix, right?
Right.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's well-deserved. He's definitely earned it on merit. And the future looks good for Alpine. We'll see.
So, with that said, Ruben?
Gentlemen, a short view back to the past.
Continue.
I know. I forgot. That's 2 free points. I gotta remember to do that. The French Grand Prix
Expires next podcast.
Oh God. I'm gonna study. I'm gonna study in the mirror. like Eminem with
I
the,
mean, come
We gotta
on, bro.
aspire
Like,
somewhere.
give him like 2 podcasts.
What are we gonna give him the winter, the summer break?
No, what
Come
was
on.
it? Like, it's been like 4 podcasts since we
Yep.
gave it to him.
More than that.
Yeah.
why you guys hate, man? I just want to cheat,
I just want to cheat.
please. So the French Grand Prix review, qualifying, more red flags.
A lot of them this year.
What did you guys think? As far as, so part of me was sitting there like, oh man, is Michael Massey overreacting now to what the commentary was previously from the drivers in regards to Baku? I think that they were in precarious spots. And I don't know. It was hard to kind of really identify where exactly they went off. Yuki Tsunoda and Mick Schumacher. Well, Yuki Tsunoda crashed Q1, but like towards the beginning of Q1, right? And he like,
yes,
it was kind of crazy actually watching that as he slid backwards and like you could see the shockwaves from the car moving.
People called it a twerk. I call it the Harlem Shake.
The Harlem Shake of the AlphaTauri car.
I can't do that thing.
Mario Brother thing.
No, that's the
No,
Diddy
the way you
song, bro.
sounded. I know, but the way you sounded.
I wish I had the Mario, bro.
Oh my God. So at the end of Q1 or towards the end of Q1, before the checkered flag had come down, Mick Schumacher, who happened to have been placed up into the Q2 qualifying area, crashed as well, causing a red flag, causing the end of the session. Is it just the drivers? Just you know what? It's weird because this is Tsunoda's second time, right? This is the second time. Baku, he crashed out. This time he's crashing out again. Mick Schumacher, is this also his second time? Did he crash out in Monaco, or was that in a practice session that he crashed?
Was it Monaco that he crashed? Yeah, he did crash out of Monaco.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in qualifying.
I think wasn't it?
I don't
No,
think
it was Leclerc, the crash in qualifying.
So maybe it might have been one of the practice sessions. I know.
But it's like, man, is it these young drivers just kind of pushing the limit of the car and just
it's pushing the limit of the car.
They have to push the limit of the car.
I mean, you have young drivers. It's also, I mean, the Haas is not easy to drive either. So
It is for him.
You combine inexperience with
Did Mazepin spin in this one?
Mazepin?
so,
I don't recall actually.
No, he didn't.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just, and then as far as the red flag, I think, especially when during qualifying, I think you kind of gotta throw that red flag because you want to be able to make sure that everybody gets their laps in. So it's just
Yeah, that's a really good point. Actually.
So
Just stop it.
yeah, you would question it maybe if it was like practice or maybe during a race, because obviously in the race you do the laps, but if there's enough laps,
Yeah.
you can just go racing again, and you have a standing start. And obviously, the red flag at the end of Baku was actually better for us because we enjoyed it more with that standing start. Alonso, made up a few places. We had the off, Hamilton going off.
But do you see the red flags in qualifying stopping?
The thing is that qualifying is tough because it's a time session, and you got to make sure that everybody gets at least one lap in.
No, and you want to make sure your driver goes out and able to perform top-notch performance.
Exactly.
Or top-notch lap.
When that happened, you saw
you are pushing the boundaries to the super limit when you're doing a qualifying lap because you want to maximize time.
You don't want a driver, especially when that's when they push the cars the most. So you don't want a driver going on a qualifying lap then going off or something like that. And also
or double think himself, am I going to go off? Am I going to crash? Oh, let me just slow down. So now you're not performing.
And you also saw that after the red flag was over, the teams were pressed because a lot of those drivers were on their first, like their banker lap, what they call, and they couldn't get it in, and they wanted to get 2 laps in. So it's just circumstances, unfortunately. It just seems like obviously it's happening a lot more, but it's better to be safe than sorry.
Schumacher went to Q2.
Yeah, let's look at the alternative when the red flag was not thrown on time in Baku after Max Verstappen's crash. Everybody was complaining. So
I'd rather have
it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. I'd rather it be safe than not safe.
Not only that, but now you're going into a track that obviously Austria. These guys through F3, F2, whatever. They're much more familiar with this track. There's Austria and there's Silverstone. So they're coming into tracks that they should know like the back of their hands.
Or played in the game like we have.
Oh, yeah.
And remember, these are the fastest F1 cars ever. So playing to that, too.
Here is a lovely question. What do you guys think? Mick Schumacher, Q2. Was it just happenstance? Is he getting better, really, is kind of the question. Or was it just luck of the draw?
I think he's getting better. I think also you also have...
So I'm gonna before you answer, I'm gonna make sure to let you know each of the drivers, including Mick Schumacher, Nicholas Latifi, Kimi Räikkönen, Nikita Mazepin, and Lance Stroll all completed 7 laps.
Okay.
Mick Schumacher beat them by a little over a tenth to the next qualifier, which was Nicholas Latifi. Almost 4 tenths to Kimi Räikkönen, which was after him.
That has to be on
in a Haas.
That has to be on merit. We've seen George Russell do it in a Williams. So why would we doubt?
Are you talking bad about the Williams?
Come on, bro. Really? Really?
No, he's getting better.
Yeah, it has to be on merit. Why wouldn't it be, to be honest with you? Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah. So that was
there was no reason not to doubt that.
That was one of the surprises. The midfield, 6 cars within 2 tenths in Q2 in order. Leclerc, Norris, Alonso, Ricciardo, Ocon, and Vettel. So we have a Ferrari, a McLaren, an Alpine, another McLaren, another Alpine, and an Aston Martin within 2 tenths in Q2. And that's a range of drivers.
Yeah, but that's how close the midfield
is.
Yeah.
Right?
At least in qualifying terms, that's how close. Well, I mean, when we saw it in the race too, they're very close.
And then the top of the field. What do you guys think of the battle between, we'll call it a 4-way battle. Max, Hamilton, in order, obviously. Max the pole position, Hamilton second, Bottas third, and then Perez fourth. What did you guys think of that battle on Saturday?
Well, I mean, what did we see? We saw that...
We saw
the cream of the crop, obviously, is Hamilton and Verstappen. It didn't. I don't know. It seemed like Mercedes were struggling. It's almost like a carbon copy of what happened in Baku. They were struggling at the beginning of the sessions, including practice, and then they kind of came. They came on, and to see Lewis Hamilton being happy with P2. Was strange because obviously he's always fighting for the top, but it seems like they're genuinely struggling, and you see that in their, the radio and the messages, especially during practice, but they get it together, and there's two decent drivers too. So, I mean, obviously you have the GOAT Hamilton, and but the Red Bull was quicker this weekend too.
So it's kind of almost like Mercedes never expected the jump that Red Bull has done, since last year.
I wouldn't say that. I think Red Bull has shown that they're just as quick. I don't know. I mean, I think that they're just genuinely struggling, man. I think Red Bull has put their pressure on them.
I think that somebody was talking, I forget who it was, that Mercedes had stopped development for a period on this car, and that maybe that's what's showing. Because you see that the Red Bull car is getting better almost every race. We saw Verstappen ahead of Hamilton by more than 0.2 of a second. We saw Bottas out-qualify Perez by 0.07 of a second. And we said earlier that Perez made a couple of mistakes on that last lap.
Right. He could have easily
been second. Locked out that front row.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Perez will always struggle to make that perfect lap in qualifying.
But I find that so
just like
hard.
he always does. Remember, because Perez is tough.
He's not a very good qualifier.
Yes.
Yeah.
To lay down like that perfect lap to qualify, he's very tough to do.
I find it hard to believe that Mercedes is just gonna have a full stop on development, especially when they're in the hunt for the championship this year. They're just do you really think that they're just gonna let Red Bull just get ahead of them?
No, I think that they paused it. I think that there's a couple of issues that came together, right? So we talked earlier, you mentioned earlier the low rake, high rake concept. We saw that this year's aero rules favor much more the high rake concept. So they had to essentially transform their car from what that was to what they needed to get to. Yeah. So that allows Red Bull to, while Mercedes is trying to catch up, Red Bull is getting ahead in development in that sense. We, as evidence to that, we saw a lot of commentary about the chassis over the weekend.
Yeah, there was a radio chatter that, Hamilton said that there's something wrong with this car, that they have to check it. So I think they switch up the chassis. I think they have like 5 chassis in circulation. So he changed up the chassis.
They're getting Bottas chassis.
Yeah, well,
like that.
I mean, I don't think it's like assigned to them. I think whatever car has it has it. So it's just like it's like they have certain chassis in circulation that if one goes wrong, they just put another one on and outfit it with all the arrow and all of that stuff. Yeah, so I don't think I don't know. I mean, it's weird to see Mercedes in this position because they always seem to be on top of things, and every time the past few races they've come in on the back foot, and they're happy.
The thing is,
they're happy. I mean, they're surprised if they're first place, and they're happy to be in P2, which is not normal for them.
The funny thing is that their struggles during practice and stuff like that, the other teams, especially Red Bull, takes it as a sandbag from them. Like, they're just sandbagging. They have the power because
because they've done it before. Yeah. And the thing is that you come in and it seems like they're struggling, and then all of a sudden they're P2, P3. And at some points they're running the fastest lap until Max comes in and just.
But obviously, you're not expecting them to be
an awesome lap.
You expecting them to be even behind past the Red Bulls, behind like Ferrari or whatever. No, they're not struggling that bad.
No,
obviously
they're not. I mean,
they're neck to neck right now with Red Bull.
Right now, they're the class of the field as far as you can see how far they are ahead of the Ferraris and the McLarens. I mean, the battle is the top two. It's just them.
The top 2 teams.
Yeah, but I mean, again, we're just used to seeing Mercedes
running with it.
At the top. They are always the hunted, and this year they're the hunters. So, I mean, it's just weird to see that, and then I think I'm just coming to grips with that. Yeah, they're genuinely struggling.
Well, I was expecting this track to show, Mercedes taking that lead because, more traditional tracks are coming and stuff like that, but that didn't happen this weekend. So I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, but I mean, they didn't race. It wasn't, I'll tell you what, they had less struggles this weekend than they did in Baku or Monaco. It seems like they were more on the back foot in Monaco and Baku than they were here. So,
Right.
But Monaco's not a track that favors Mercedes.
Never. They've always thrown that away. But how many?
they've never been great at street tracks. I think the only street track why we were surprised in Baku is because that's a really high speed street track and
But
they
that
have that
affects-
long straight. But
That affects the temperature of the tires.
yeah, but again,
that's what they've been struggling
that's unique to this year. But this is why we were surprised because we all thought that they were gonna be very good in Baku, and we thought that we were gonna be really good here. And they were good in the Castellet. They weren't bad. It was just that Red Bull has a better car this year.
What is this Cassia? That's a town?
Paul Ricard.
Yeah,
Oh, no, but that's a town.
is,
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I'm just thinking about we know from whatever. We'll get to it in the preview. So the race itself, I guess the story of the whole thing was the strategy call, right? We had a lot
Better
of
race than what we expected.
much better,
Yes.
much better race than what we expected. Obviously, Max Verstappen came out as the winner.
It's funny how the tires also came into a little perspective this weekend again.
Yeah. Well, yes. We I say the strategy because Bottas pits first out of any. Well, he pits first out of the top drivers or the top teams. Pits on lap 17. That forces Max Verstappen to pit on lap 18, and then Lewis Hamilton pits on lap 19. Seeing the reaction, or seeing what was happening with the cars, with the commentary on the radio, the commentary from Brundle, Crofty, it seemed like the tires were going much faster than they expected, correct?
They were degrading a lot faster than what they expected. Every single team.
Every single team.
Yeah.
So,
Some more than the
yeah.
Yeah, but there was a general consensus that the tires were going a lot faster.
It's pretty much like saying to the point okay, I think Pirelli lied to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was revealed afterwards that Mercedes had no choice to pit Bottas. Bottas had to pit due to increased vibration in his tires, and that was vibrating through the suspension, which could have caused a failure eventually.
Mm-hmm.
What that ended up causing was obviously the train of pits. Bottas, when he came in, put in a great lap and was right on top of Verstappen. He cut the lead from 2 seconds down to tenths. So, and they were chasing each other essentially through whatever lap 18, whatever. Hamilton came in the next lap, and that the undercut from Verstappen ends up
Wiping out that lead
it was crazy.
completely.
Yes.
He had, Verstappen had a great in-lap and an amazing out-lap.
They were surprised.
And Hamilton had one of the worst in-laps and one of the worst out-laps. The pits were actually almost equal,
Yeah.
but it was just that when they put those new tires on, those new hards, they were super quick, so. And then obviously Verstappen has that
So pretty much
one lap pace.
The roughness of the track, because obviously it was killing the tires you started with, but it was turning on maybe the hards quicker.
It was a confluence of things. Remember that it rained right before the race.
For F3, for the F3 race.
Yeah. So any of the rubber that was laid out that would naturally make the track a little bit smoother, less degradation, was all wiped away.
By the F3 race. The wets.
Just by the
interim.
rain.
Yeah,
by the rain, yeah. So then obviously the data that they had for practice was basically wiped out because they were running on a track that was already rubbered in. So it caught them off guard. And you can see by all the marbles that were on the side of the road that those tires were going super fast. So it was just kudos to Red Bull because they obviously noticed that and they didn't want to get caught out like they did in Spain. So they were the only top team that actually ran a two-stop strategy. And it won them the race.
So they did that. They did the reverse to the Mercedes.
Yeah. And Sergio Perez was up there, qualified up there.
Like we always speak to have the guy up top. 'Cause
Was
he
running together with the top with the top guys. It wasn't like he was in with the rest of the midfield, or he was running by himself.
Like what happened in Spain?
Yeah, between the midfield, he was up there, and he put his skills of tire management into play, and ran longer, which gave him fresher tires at the end of the race, which would help him keep up with the top group, and eventually overtake Bottas for third.
No, and also pretty much put into guess like, oh, can I pit? Oh no, Perez is there. So
just
going to be a good gamble to
put some context to it, right? So Bottas 17 pit, Max 18 pit, Hamilton 19 pit, Perez 24 pit.
Right.
Max pits again on 32. Everybody else, well, the top drivers, they all take those tires to the end. So
he was only one of two drivers that did a two-stop strategy, him and Leclerc. Obviously, with Leclerc, it didn't work.
So post-race, James Vowles, Ruben's favorite engineer, right, on YouTube.
I know you find
the race debrief. He said to Lewis Hamilton that this one's on us. You did a great job, right? So the strategy got messed up. So to me, what that says is that their strategy, the original strategy, was to go longer, kind of similar to where Perez did. So I know we always joke about it. I think that the top person on the field, or I keep saying the field, on the track, as far as tire management, is Lewis Hamilton, and close behind them is Sergio Perez.
I agree.
So
the reason why Hamilton finished second was because he was able to manage those tires.
Correct.
Plain and simple.
The reason he was able to finish so close too, like he almost won the race.
Yeah, and you can see that just compared to the other Mercedes, Bottas, the reason why Bottas was struggling is because he couldn't manage those tires. That's why he wanted to go on a two-stop strategy, because he just couldn't make it happen, but Hamilton could.
So this is exactly what you guys just said. This is the power of having the other teammate qualify up close and be able to threaten the other team. Right. So Mercedes made the mistake of they had to pit Bottas. They didn't have to pit Hamilton, but because they have their eyes, I guess, they have blinders on their eyes towards Max Verstappen and whatever he's doing, and oh my God, the undercut is so powerful, they pitted Hamilton. That was the mistake. Whereas potentially, like I said earlier, their strategy was to leave him out there a little further, let him kind of finesse the tires to the point where he can do a one-stop race, and that may have been their fastest strategy.
Yeah, but they also didn't know how powerful the undercut was going to be here.
That's probably what freaked them out.
Yeah, because it was just one of those things where it's like you would expect it to be close, but he obliterated him. It was like a 3-second lead coming into the pits, and he obliterated that in his out. I think he was it was a second faster on the in lap and 2 seconds faster on the out lap. So that just obliterates the lead. And obviously it did, because he came out on, he came out in front of him, and he was able to to take the lead at that point, and then and he was just much faster, so that's why he was able to get on the new tires and come back through the field and win the race.
This weekend, Max.
Talking about Max.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This weekend, Max did so many things, like you could point out. Like, at one point, I think he did he took a second off in just a sector.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was doing stuff that you're like, what?
No, he's on his A game.
Yeah, exactly. This weekend he was playing, on.
And I think Lewis is on his A game too. It's just
always
that the car's not helping.
Yeah.
Not that the car's bad, but it's just that the Red Bull's better.
So Perez pitting on lap 24 kind of just creates that that sense in the back of their heads, like, oh my God, like, we can't do a two-stop strategy because his tires are fresher than ours and are still not off of the cliff. So I think that's where they had the issue with coming in for that second stop. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Yeah,
no, you are.
Yeah, you are. You are.
To me, you are. Because it was like they really had to watch out on making that decision.
Right.
it better be the right one,
Right.
whichever we make. Why?
because it could go from
we're gonna lose the race and lose places.
right.
more.
It could be from a 1-3 to a 1-2 to Red Bull, and then that would have been just a complete disaster for them.
Yeah, and you know, you have to. It's like you said, you have to be able to have to have the foresight to say, okay, if we pit in now, we're losing track position 1. Perez didn't go for the 2-stop strategy, so what you're running the risk is that Perez just gets ahead of them if they pit, and he stays up there, and there's just not enough time in the race where they can catch up to him. And on top of that, they weren't as quick as the Red Bulls. So what happens is they pit both cars, or even they pit one of the cars, Mercedes I'm talking about. Perez is already ahead. They have better pace. They didn't have the same pace as Mercedes, so they would just run away with the race with the 1-2. Then you're left with a 3-4. You're losing more ground in the championship race.
Why didn't Mercedes, after all, just pit Bottas to at least go for the fastest lap? He was already on 4.
All right, so that was the other thing coming out of this, right? Bottas said early on in the whole thing, because he had pitted first before Max. He was experiencing issues because I think he had issues with the front wing that was giving him trouble with the degradation of the tires. He was screaming over the radio to pit him to get him on the fresher tires, and then at the end, why didn't anybody effing listen to me?
It's gonna be a 2-stop race.
Yeah, exactly. And somebody on Reddit specifically nailed it when he said he's almost complete with his transformation to Kimi. That was spot on comment.
It might be the next Iceman.
Just leave me alone. I know what I'm doing.
I know what to do.
Yeah.
Is it?
No, because he was already 4th, and there were the top 4 drivers, or the top 4 cars, were so far ahead of the field that he would have easily just made a pit stop and come back on.
Yeah, I mean, they should have pitted him for that point. I don't know why they didn't.
Because now you gave Max everything. Max now won the race and got the fastest lap.
He got the
trifecta. He got the
trifecta.
pole too.
He got pole, fastest lap, and he won the race. So
that's like Ruben every day.
Yeah, man.
What?
You're a winner.
Yeah, exactly.
Win at life.
So, speaking of Bottas, right? So there's that weird animosity. Not animosity, but it's just uncomfortable between them. Similar to Sebastian Vettel last year at Ferrari. Then you hear after qualifying that, earlier in the weekend, Toto Wolff said, George Russell, Bottas and George Russell, they'll make the decision after the season in December, he said.
He changed his mind.
Then somebody asked him, like, yo, is that for real? And he was like, no, I was just kidding. We're going to make the decision soon. And it's like, oh, crap. Like,
okay, let's do a coin.
Yeah,
We're going to say this week. Okay, we're going to go with that.
It's got to be wearing on him, right? It's got to be wearing on Bottas.
Everybody.
Well, I mean, he signs a 1-year. They sign him to a 1-year deal. So every time we get around this, stage of the season,
close to summer break.
Yeah, we've seen that Bottas drives better when his contract situation is
off his shoulder.
Yeah, it's off his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So a chip.
Yeah, but I think we're getting to the point now where Mercedes has to make a decision on who they're going to put next to Lewis Hamilton going forward. Bottas is already getting frustrated because they're clearly... it's clear that they favor Hamilton.
Well, yeah, I mean, who wouldn't?
Listen, I'm not blaming them.
think?
I'm just saying, but he knows that he's playing second fiddle because you can clearly see it, right? The strategy played to the strength of Lewis Hamilton because he is better at managing the tires. Bottas wanted a second pit stop because he can't manage the tires well, but he thought he could run a better race.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Personally, if he had a 2-stop strategy, they were like,
that's a good point.
No, brother, we're going with Hamilton.
Right.
So
we'll go with the data from Hamilton's car.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
What it is what it is at this point. He seems like he just doesn't want to be there anymore. But again, where does he go?
Williams.
Yo, he had the hat, right? He had a hat that
looked
just like the
Williams livery.
Yeah.
There you go. He's already started.
That's a nice hat too.
Yeah.
It looks better on the hat than on the car.
Oh my god.
So yeah, I mean, I think the rumors eventually are going to prove true that George is going to be George Russell's going to be in the car, in that Mercedes seat. Because, George Russell already, he's a Mercedes driver. He feels that he's proven that he can drive that car. Obviously, he's manhandled any of his teammates that he's had at Williams. He beats them by a mile.
Nicholas Latifi.
Latifi,
Robert Kubica.
He stepped into the Mercedes last season in Bahrain and
Beat Bottas.
probably was one of the best drives of the season by any driver.
Man, that was crazy.
Yeah. And he almost won that race. So he feels that it's an eventuality. Like, he needs to be in a better team because he sees all his peers fighting for podiums, fighting for points, fighting for wins, and he feels that he should be in that position because he has a talent. And he does. He has a good case for it. And
do you see Russell as being the future of Mercedes?
Yeah.
There you go. That's
of course.
this is not ending now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what's happening in the NBA now. You have LeBron passing
Passing the torch to Ben Simmons.
No, come on, no, it's Kevin Durant, man. By the way, you guys watch basketball. Kevin Durant's performance, even
50
though he lost,
points
yeah,
in a loss.
Yeah, even though he lost that series, he just became a legend in the NBA. But whatever, we digress.
Okay.
He carried that team.
Take it back in, Wells.
So
all right. So we talked about, or you just mentioned George Russell looking up at his peers, seeing how they're on the podium, they're scoring points, etc. During this race, right, we saw the McLaren teammates, Lando Norris in 5th again.
And George finished in 12th, by the way.
Which is great for him.
Which is great for him, yeah.
Lando Norris in 5th, Daniel Ricciardo in 6th. Really, I just wanted to segue into Lando Norris. What is this? 6 of 7 5th place wins or 5th place positions this season.
The only driver to score points in every race this season. The only one.
Mando.
Not even Lewis can.
Last.
So I'm going to read out his results: 4th, 3rd, 5th, 8th, 3rd, 5th, 5th. Dude is unbelievable.
Hell of a season.
This is what, his 3rd year McLaren?
Yes.
Where does this guy top out? Currently, he is ahead of Valtteri Bottas. He's 4th in the drivers' championship, 76 points and 5th to Valtteri Bottas with 59, up by 17 in the drivers' championship. How long does he hold that thing?
2 races.
Remember that he's great at Austria.
Last lap Lando happened there.
Yeah, but the temperatures are not going to be that high. I was checking the weather in Austria. Well, and we can talk about this in the preview, but I think that Mercedes are going to be in top form
at the Red Bull Ring.
Yes.
So there was a graphic, right, I saw on Reddit. 2019 for the McLaren team after 7 races. 2019, 30 points. 2020, 68 points. 2021, 110 points. This team is not only 3rd in the constructors, but like Mercedes is at 178, they're at 110. You would think that gap would be enormous, right? But that's like, it's not as bad as one would anticipate. Mercedes to McLaren.
Listen, it's something that it's good.
They're not going to
but
get to
it's
second.
still race number 7 of 23 races,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
It's good to get excited. And one thing about being a sports fan in general is that it's not how you start,
Hope.
it's how you
It's
finish.
all hope.
Yeah. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And obviously McLaren is doing a good job. They seem they're going to be fighting for that 3rd place. But yeah, I mean, as far as them being close to Mercedes, yeah, you expect that gap to be bigger, but that gap will get bigger. So, I mean,
I hope not. It's nice to have McLaren that way.
oh, we all hope not, because we want to see more people fighting at the top. But
So rounding out the finishers at the French Grand Prix: 7th, Pierre Gasly, oui. 8th, Fernando Alonso. 9th, Sebastian Vettel, and 10th, Lance Stroll. Both Aston Martin again. They started on the hards because they didn't get into Q3.
And they went super long too.
They went super duper long. They went. Vettel went to lap 37 on the hards. Stroll went to lap 34.
They
Very impressive.
They took advantage of them choosing their tires to start the race
and working for them.
Yeah, you see a trend now forming with Aston Martin where they're taking more risk with their strategy, and it's paying off for them. You saw it in Monaco, you saw it in Baku, you saw it now. Their car is not that good, so it's almost like what you saw Haas do a few years ago, where
Can we just go for it?
yeah, they would just take in, they like whenever opportunity they would take with the strategy, they would do it and see if it works, and it's working out for them. But obviously, they're not as slow as the Haas. They have a pretty, the car is pretty good, but it's not. I don't think it's up there with an AlphaTauri or McLaren or a Ferrari. But if you play your cards right and your strategies are on point, then you can see that it helps out with them. I mean, Lance Stroll started in what, 18th or
Well, that's because
and he finished
He wasn't able to
finished
put
either
that.
18th or 19th. And he finished in 10th.
He started 18th and finished 10th.
Yeah. So and you have Vettel.
because he wasn't able to put a lap in Q1, right?
Yeah.
He put a lap, but
Oh, he had
when he was going to do he did his banker lap, as they
Right.
say. And when he was going to do his regular, like, okay, I'm being for real, that's when the red
No,
flag.
I don't think. No, he didn't even do a banker lap.
No?
That
Oh, he got
was the
deleted.
issue. Yeah, that was the issue. That no, it wasn't that. It was just that I think obviously they were doing the first lap, and then Sonoda came out. It was Sonoda crash, so a red flag did. They chose not to not to do the first lap. They wanted they were putting all their hopes on that last lap, and I think on that last lap, the second flag.
That's when
that
Schumacher
came
crashed.
out. Yeah.
When they were going for
So
the
they just couldn't. They just couldn't get a lap in. So again, the strategy worked out perfectly for them. They both, Vettel and Stroll drove great, and it was they got 4 points or 3 points, I think it was. So
Ricardo, he's back?
sort of seems like it.
Or just a one?
I wouldn't say he's back.
I would say it's a one-off.
I hope not.
No,
I hope he's back.
No. I think he's getting.
But do we see him beating Lando?
He did say that he just needs to get more into the flow of it. We have a triple header. He's starting off well. Obviously, Baku and Monaco are very unique tracks, and with a car that he's still getting used to. And this is all, I'm paraphrasing, but he did say that obviously he seems like to be getting into the flow better. They're traditional tracks, and it's 3 races in a row, so you expect him to be better. Is he back? No, because if he were back, he'd be beating Lando. But expect him to steadily, get there and have them, fighting a little bit closer.
So that was going to be my comment, right? Mm-hmm. Who did he race this race?
Mostly Lando.
That to me just means that the car was so much better than everybody else that he had no choice but to finish 5th or 6th, whatever he finished.
And Lando.
I don't think that's fair, though.
Lando had better pace than him because at one point he let him through.
Yeah, I don't think that's fair either because we've seen him drive the same car and he's finished way behind Lando. Lando's up in 5th and he's in 13th.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just.
I think he's getting
It's
his
also
balance in.
there's so many factors. It's just circumstances. The fact that he was right there with Lando is a good sign, but we expect him to at least beat Lando.
He's getting his balance in. He's getting balanced out.
I think he's doing better. He was very happy after the race. So
Perez pitted lap 24. Lando Norris pitted lap 24. Daniel Ricciardo pitted lap 16. That's why Norris had to pass him, because at the end of the day,
more pace.
he had the tires under him.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw a beautiful one-stop strategy from Norris, man. This kid is just so good, and it's amazing to see, and it's going to continue to be. Even like the lesser guys, like Pierre Gasly, who finished 7th, right? You're going to have a Leclerc, Lando, Gasly, Max Verstappen, George Russell. The future is so bright for Formula One. It's
Right. I think it's going to be the talent is very close as far as driver talent. It's just a matter of what kind of car they get.
Speaking of drivers, what kind of car they get. Carlos Sainz says after the race that he felt like the tire degradation for the Ferrari was twice that of their competitors.
Yeah.
It was just a throwaway race for these guys, right?
Nothing worked for them.
Nothing works for them this week.
No,
I mean, they did well in qualifying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Sainz qualifying worked perfect for him.
The issue with Ferrari is that they tend to overheat the front tires.
Okay.
So obviously that's why they have a better pace in qualifying, because they can
put the
put the heat in the tires real
Right away.
quickly,
Yep.
go for a lap or two, and it'll be quick. But during the races, their Achilles heel has been, and that's probably why they ran better in Baku and in Monaco, is because their tires weren't getting so hot. So they were able to keep up the pace. But in a traditional track like this, where the sun is hitting the track and they're constantly running and you have long straights, the tires tend to heat up more. Their tire degradation there's even worse than what it was before. And the tire degradation here was pretty bad. So their Achilles heel right now is that they are heating the front tires up too much. They're still trying to figure out why. We don't know why. They don't know why. But that is the reason why they had such a bad race this weekend. And they got to get on top of it if they want to keep fighting with McLaren.
They better.
What do you guys think championship-wise? Now what it shakes out as is Verstappen has 131 points for the Drivers' Championship. Hamilton, 119. We'll leave it at those two, right?
It's going to be close.
It's going to be close, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is what Hamilton wanted. And we've seen that he is very good at not only racing, going wheel to wheel racing on another competitor, but he is also good at playing the little mind games. Even though he says he doesn't play mind games, he does. We know. We see the
It's part of the game.
It's part
The
of
whole
the
team
game.
does.
Yeah,
oh my God, Rebel!
And he has the experience, and it further will cement his legacy if he is in a close title fight, no matter who the competitor is,
and wins
out.
Yep.
Okay. There was, obviously Rosberg beat him, but it was right there.
Yeah.
And obviously when you're that close, it could go either way. But now you have another competitor. I mean, he beat Vettel handily in those 2 seasons. And now you have probably the best competition that he's had in years. And he relishes in that. And he's also proven that he can beat a Fernando Alonso.
Head-to-head. Yep.
Yeah, and he's
Jump into that.
Yeah, and he's been alongside, and he's beaten teammates that have been world champions. So,
do you think, for example, on a season like this one, the Mercedes is a little bit behind? Do you think that's what he needs to even get over the top?
Yeah,
I'm talking about go back to even with Felipe Massa.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he won. I think it was like by 1 point or something like that. He won that.
Yes.
So and that was close battles like that, and that's what's going to make him solidify him.
And he was younger at that point.
Yeah,
now he has more experience.
Let's not forget 2016 when he lost to Rosberg, and 2007 when he lost to Kimi. The car failed him. It wasn't even him. It was the car.
Mm-hmm. So listen,
and he had a chance.
And
Rosberg to take it
remember,
back, and the team told him, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
No.
And remember, and remember what has been the latest trend anytime that, well, obviously he's won the championship the past 3 or 4 years. He always comes on strong after the summer break. And this season I think he started off very, very good. He won, was it the first 2 races?
This season?
Yeah.
Oh man, I have it right here.
Yeah, I got it right here too.
He won the first race, lost the second. By lost, I mean second. And then he won 2 in a row.
Yeah, so
Portugal and Spain.
He has 1, 2, 1, 1. So he's won 3 races. So
really,
far.
the difference is Monaco, which Max finished first and Ham finished 7th.
Right.
And then the fastest lap difference. Actually, 1, 2, 3.
So he's obviously off to a good start, anyways. Hamilton gets better as the summer goes on, and he comes on strong after the summer break. So this race is not over yet.
Championship race.
Yeah, the championship race is not over yet.
No, it's just
By
the year so
yeah,
much to go. The year still.
again, race 7 is 23.
23 races.
Even if they get 21 races in,
No, they'll get the 23.
we're still only through 1/3 of the season.
So I'm gonna take this in a different direction, right? The constructors. I don't see Mercedes coming back and winning the constructors, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Oof, all right.
We already see
Hot take.
the division between Bottas and Mercedes. I don't think that
That's on
for the
top.
rest of the year, I don't think that he's going to be able to one-on-one beat Sergio Perez.
Or Mercedes be able to rally him in to get.
I don't think it's going to
top-notch
happen.
points all the time.
I think that Red Bull is pretty much money in the bank as far as that World Constructors Championship.
Listen, it will be tough for Bottas to beat Paris in the points.
So the only way I see this happening for Mercedes is if we start to see the unreliability that we have come to know from Red Bull with one or both cars. That's the only way I see it happening.
It's hard to argue against that, but I will.
Here we go.
Go ahead.
Man, it sucks being wrong, but you make it an art form, Nancy.
Remember that each driver is fighting for a seat on the grid. Okay?
Meaning
So
Paris wants
I-
more years.
Yeah, Paris
Bottas wants to either
Bottas
stay or
wants
get
more.
a better contract somewhere else.
Correct.
Yeah.
So maybe you are correct. Maybe Perez beats Bottas like a drum. Or maybe you're wrong. But we can't deduce from the results that we've seen so far this year that Perez is going to be way better than Bottas. The car is similar. They're two very good drivers. And we have seen Bottas keep up with Lewis Hamilton in the past, even through adversity. So, it's not over yet. Okay? And like you said, there are going to be questions as far as Red Bull is concerned with the reliability, which you've been saying all year. I agree with you on that. It's just going to come down to, I think that Bottas is fighting for his F1 career at this point because he wants a seat on the grid. So he's going to want to show other teams that he is not as good a driver as Lewis Hamilton, but he's pretty close, which is pretty good.
Pretty close.
Okay? And he has shown that he can be quick in that Mercedes. So, food for thought.
How do you turn him around, Jens?
How do we turn him around with Total Wolf coming on the radio and, being his father figure? I don't know. Encouraging him. Listen, they're in a close title fight, and you need two drivers to win the championship. Yeah. And Mercedes is not, obviously they're going to favor Lewis more, but they also want to win the championship. So they're not just going to they're not going to throw Bottas to the wolves. They're going to help him out. They're going to help him try and win races or be up there in the constructors fight. They're in a close fight. Listen, at the end of the day, everybody on that grid is a racer. Everybody wants to win, no matter the circumstances. So I think that they will get it together. It's going to be a close fight, but I'm not convinced that Sergio Perez is going to beat Bottas that easily.
Okay, so here's what I'll say to that, right?
He will.
Maybe Bottas should, instead of thinking about beating Perez, he should think about beating Lando Norris, who he is currently behind by 17 points.
Ooh, but that's not going to last.
Yeah, it's not. So if you give Bottas the second place at Monaco, in which the tire is probably in the Hall of Fame right now in Mercedes for the longest pit stop.
In the museum.
If you give him that second place, which he was real close in, that puts him, and you push down Lando one spot to fourth, that puts him 4 points above Lando Norris, which is still...
Yeah, it's not that great, but listen, he's still up there, man. It's still, it's not like he's down. It's not like there's a lot of... The only person that's ahead of him that shouldn't be is Lando. So he's, and it's 7 races. We're a third way through the season. It's still still a young season. Let's not overreact.
Red Bull World Constructors Championship. Congratulations, guys. I've crowned them. Guys, anything else with regards to the French Grand Prix? It was actually a very entertaining race.
It was an entertaining race.
Almost
there was
the
a
whole
lot
way
of
through.
overtakes.
Yeah.
Fernando Alonso was actually pretty
Unreal.
good.
Alpine, man.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it. The French team is going to show out. They didn't like show out, but they looked good.
Yeah, they look good.
They
I
did
mean,
look good.
it was fun to see everybody. We were, it's tough. We always complain about this because the midfield is so close, and obviously they're not getting the attention that they deserve because it's very close at the front between Max and Verstappen. But there was a lot of good battles going on in the midfield, and
Yeah, we saw Gasly, Ricardo, Norris, Alonso all fighting it out like crazy.
right,
And
right,
at times when Leclerc could do it and Sainz could do it, they were there too.
right, exactly.
It was awesome.
So it was an awesome fight. I think Lando and Gasly had a great battle.
Yep, that was
Yeah, which
What is this
Nico
guy doing?
Rosberg. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was he doing on the
Yeah,
teleprompter?
so I mean, it was a fun race overall.
I love
It's,
Nico Rosberg.
it's what I told you guys, man. Best race ever.
come on.
Nah, it was a good race. Hopefully, it keeps going that way at the French Grand Prix because obviously we've had two stinkers.
What's great is that now we're going to go into 2 times Austria at Silverstone, which are always good races.
But let me tell you something. The reason why this was good is because obviously, one, we have a very close race at the top, makes it more interesting, and we have a midfield that is very close. So when you have cars that can compete with each other, there's no race that's not going to be good.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
let's just hope
That's a good point.
that in 2022, these regulations will help these cars fight so we don't have these boring races at times.
All right. That about does it for the French Grand Prix. Let's jump into a quick Austrian Grand Prix preview, led off by Ruben and his history lesson and
History
trivia. Take it away, Dr. Ruben.
Dun, dun, dun.
We need a jingle, man.
Dun, 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 dun. All right, so let's start over with a little bit of trivia on this place. Now I can't go too deep in the trivia because next week I got to do another trivia on it because it's just
Make it super deep, both.
You can do it, Ruben.
Currently, I believe that I am up 1.
Yes. Do you have the exact number?
No, I keep saying I'm going to do it. I'll check after this. I apologize.
Let's go with an easy one.
Let's go.
Sure.
So obviously the Austrian Grand Prix or whatever is, it's a country is, Red Bull owns the track, so it's the Red Bull Ring. How many times has Red Bull won their home race?
Twice.
No.
Won their home race 7 times. How many?
Only won it once.
Get out of here.
It was in 2018 by Max.
Max
outta
won it
here.
twice.
No. When did he win again?
No, he had issues with his car last year. He oh man.
No, dude. Hold on. He won it 2 years in a row.
No, he didn't. Well, whatever. I'm gonna trust the process here. We're gonna keep it going with Ruben. Get the next question, and we'll continue doing the research.
Go ahead. We'll find this out before the podcast ends.
Okay, so the Austrian Grand Prix in 2002. This is a kind of like a medium to hard question. Okay, was the place where Ferrari did a switcheroo on the last lap, where Rubens Barrichello let Schumacher through and nobody liked it or whatever. Can you name the other driver that was on the podium with them?
Jesus.
Rubens Barrichello.
That's where
I'm gonna say
Schumacher was, pulled Barrichello up to number 1.
yeah.
Which also violated, Paul whatever protocol, and then after that it was like, well, it was me when you cannot do that, blah 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 blah.
I'm
Who
gonna
was the other driver?
I'm gonna say that. Damn, I shouldn't have hit the button. I'm gonna say that it was Alonso.
Giancarlo Fisichella.
Oh my
It
god.
was actually Juan Pablo Montoya.
Oh, triple name.
Oh, damn.
So close. Yet so far.
You're right. I'm remembering the picture. Damn it. Okay.
Go ahead, Ruben.
All right, let's
Next
go
question.
with this one. And I got more written down, but I'm going to save it for next week.
Okay.
So, Austria is always going to be obviously tied to Niki Lauda because he is, from the country. Can you name for what team he scored the majority of his F1 wins?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Can you name the team
Yeah.
in which he scored the
Who's he?
majority? Niki Lauda.
Niki Lauda. That's it.
Ferrari.
Yeah.
Well, what didn't you type? It was it.
Because I was looking something up. I apologize. Yeah.
So-
yeah.
Austrian Grand Prix.
Yeah. How many times did Red Bull win it? Twice.
What was the other one?
They won.
18
Max
and 19.
won 2 years in a row.
My bad.
18 and 19.
Okay, so
So now I'm up one.
that's what happens
Yeah.
when you're doing the trivia and not concentrating.
I knew it. All right.
I'm upset.
Wow.
With Drake's song.
All right, so let's do another question because that one. Was,
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
What? Damn it.
Come on. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Fine.
in last year's Austrian Grand Prix, there were two drivers with identical quality times. Can you name them?
Damn it. Identical quality times.
I cannot. I remember that it happened. It was Carlos Sainz and you're already pressing the negative. Carlos Sainz and Daniel Ricciardo.
I'm gonna go Lance Stroll and what was it? And Lando. Who was it?
It was Albon and Perez.
Wow.
What a coincidence, right? Foreshadowing.
Damn.
All right,
I do
Ruben,
remember
take
that,
it away.
though, yeah.
The history lesson.
History lesson. So obviously this track has a lot of history. This track has gone through a number of name changes since it actually was built in 1969. The original name, don't even ask me how to pronounce it, was called Styrian.
Osterreich ring.
There you go.
Osterreichring.
Then it was renamed the A1 ring. And in 1996, after a 9-year absence from the calendar, obviously, the A1, it was an Austrian telephone company that at one point, whatever. That was the one that funded the circuit to be redeveloped. After the track, it was actually off the calendar for a while. It came back in 2003, and that's when now they didn't come back in 2003. Red Bull bought it
In 2000.
in 2003, and they started doing, a bunch of stuff. They were able to work it out when it came back. It was named the Red Bull Ring, and then it came back in 2011. It was confirmed for the calendar. But it's been around.
Calendar ever since.
Yeah, it's been around since 1970 to 87, then from 97 to 03, and then it was 2014 to now. There's been most win by drivers is Alain Prost with 3. Most win by constructors tied by McLaren and Ferrari with 6. Last year's pole position was Bottas with 102, whatever.
He also won the race.
He also won the race with 1:30. Leclerc was second, and Lando Norris, last lap Lando. Fastest lap was also Lando Norris.
Whoa.
Crazy. It's an amazing track. It's the one that they come close to being under a minute. It's
Yes, fast.
one of the fastest tracks, and obviously it's short.
It's only 10 turns. So, yeah. It's a fun track, too.
We saw last year Max Verstappen had electronics issues. We've seen, he had electronics issues last year.
His stuff was
Seen a great battle between Leclerc and Max.
Yep.
This track, too.
Yep. That was
Where-
2018.
Yeah, where Leclerc ran out of tires and Max overtook him at the end. I think he pushed him out, but whatever, it is what it is.
didn't push each other out because they came back.
Yeah. I mean, it was a close battle, and I don't think Leclerc would have won that race anyways because the tires were gone. Anyway.
Would you call that battle as being clean back then?
Yeah, that was clean. That was a clean race. There was nothing wrong with that.
Competitive.
Yeah, it was a competitive race, and it was fun to watch, honestly, because we didn't, up until that point, that race wasn't that great. But when we saw Max coming back up through the field and Leclerc was leading the entire race, it's just that, they
2018, right? Was
yeah, it was yeah, you're gonna say it again.
Cheating engine.
exactly.
Whatever, haters. But it was. We always get good races here, and it always seems it's always entertaining, and it always seems that even though Mercedes won last season, did they win both races or just one?
Both.
They won both races.
One by Bottas, one by Hamilton.
They always struggle with overheating in this track, so it's not a foregone conclusion that they're gonna be, they're gonna run away with it. Obviously, with the competition that Red Bull has this season.
So qualifying, pole position. Who you got? I'm going Max. I'm going Max for a clean sweep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to.
He's really good at this track. He just had bad luck last year. I know he had the electronics issue. I think he had another issue with the other race.
Do you see Hamilton being third here? Because Bottas apparently is super quick in this track too.
No.
Okay.
I do.
Look, let's be real here. Really?
Yeah.
Third to who?
To Bottas?
Or Perez?
No, not Paris.
No, it'll be Max. My qualifying order will be Max, Bottas, and Hamilton.
Followed by Paris.
Yes.
And who after that?
Norris.
Come on.
Ricardo.
Whoa.
Okay.
I don't think
It's going to be
Hamilton will-
super close.
I think Norris
that's
is fourth.
what it will be.
It's gonna be super
it'll be
close.
by fractions.
Of course, yeah, because it's such a
Like-
short track.
I'm talking about
That's what it
super
lends itself
fractions to.
Yeah, I mean it's a quick track. You don't have crazy heavy braking zones, so whoever has a quick engine
And I
is
think
going to go good.
And I think that's the only way Bottas will have a better quality than Hamilton. By the way it is that you see, Ham is pretty much. You see, for example, Hamilton pole. Well, Ham has pole. Then Bottas out of nowhere, boom, and then Max is going to become boom right on top.
Any
of that as well.
surprises you think of?
Definitely the Ferrari.
In qualifying.
Qualifying, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, this is like the type of track that a Leclerc could pull out like a stunner.
Yeah,
like a stone cold stunner.
because they do have at least in qualifying trim, they're very quick. I can agree with you on that. I would say that, depending where the wind blows, I would say that George Russell's going to have a good qualifying here too.
Q3?
No, close. I think it'll be close.
Think it'll be going with the wind?
That's the issue, isn't it? Right? Because
Everyone's dying over here.
that car is very susceptible to the wind, but it definitely has all the characteristics. They're very good in qualifying. They have a quick engine. And then Russell's a very good qualifier. So Williams they'll at least make it a Q2. I expect it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Q2.
Mr. Saturday, dude.
Yeah, of course.
Race, obviously Max.
Would you say that Sainz will out-qualify Leclerc this
No.
week again?
No.
Okay.
No. Leclerc has just been historically, I say that, but
No. I mean,
They've been super
Sainz
close.
is good. It's been close, but Leclerc just seems to always eke it out against him. So I would expect Leclerc to be ahead.
Not this past weekend, but okay.
and then what do we say about the race? Obviously,
Vamos.
I'm taking Max to win.
You're taking Max to win?
I'm taking Max to win. I'm taking Max, Ham, Perez. I think you're going to see again. I think you're going to see a strategy again rear its ugly head. And by ugly, I mean beautiful.
You, Ruben?
Because I love strategy.
Is it going to be more of a strategic race or more of a race?
I think it's going to be strategy.
Okay. How about you, Ruben?
No, it's going to be that. It's going to be Bottas, Ham. It's going to be a toss-up between Paris and Bottas for third and fourth. But
So you have Verstappen?
Yeah.
Verstappen winning, Hamilton in second. It's going to be third and fourth. It's going to be a toss-up between whoever is able. Obviously, we know that Paris goes very long on the tires. So if part of the struggles that Bottas had this weekend, that he's had this year, remember Bottas is also can come to the front if he has a problem. So it's going to be a toss-up between them two, and then they better watch out. Last lap, Lando might be right
It's
there.
going to be hunting.
Hamilton,
Hamilton.
Bottas,
Bottas.
Verstappen.
Wow. Tudo passa.
Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, Perez.
Norris.
No. Ricardo.
Any surprises during the race?
Surprises.
Yo, Ricardo might surprise. Because remember, he used to run for Red Bull.
Well,
so
I
he
think
knows this
Ricardo's
track.
of enough of a surprise.
Everybody knows this
I think
track.
Ricardo's enough of a surprise, but let's go. I think Vettel's gonna surprise.
I think the Aston Martins are going to show up
Yeah.
again.
Vettel's gonna.
I mean, this
have
if
another
it becomes
result.
a strategy race, they might be right there
Yeah.
because they're for the past few races.
They're
the,
taking
the
the-
strategies.
they're taking the
They're taking the chances, and it's been working.
Yeah,
for them.
and
Look what happened in Baku. Dude.
we're going with I think Pirelli's going with the middle, the C2, C3, C4.
Yeah, the confusing part.
So so they're gonna have softer tires. I think it's gonna be a fun race.
So yeah, so the hard tires for whatever race is going to become the soft tire. This like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, C2, C3, C4, bro.
Exactly. No, but I to me super confusing.
Ruben knows soft and hard, right? Not hard then soft. Boom. And on that note, guys, make sure
that's
to
hilarious.
follow us on all of our socials. We are across many podcast platforms. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and Stitcher. We're also on YouTube. What's up? You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at JumpTheStartF1. Guys, is there anything else that we need to add here?
No,
It's race week,
we're in the middle of a triple header.
race month.
We're the racing, baby.
Yeah. Let's do it.
We're in the middle of a great season. Let's keep it going.
Adios.